totally different ballgame. So we had spent a lot of time here in the first set of slides that we had talked about. The first group that Imam Ghazali attacks is who? He attacks the scholars and the clerics and the clergy. Now who is he attacking? So when he says worshippers, who do you guys think he's talking about specifically? You know it's not an accident. What other group of people did he have a problem with? Huh? This is all about arrogance, right? See, he's talking to the Sufis. It's like anti-everything, bro. He's very jaded, as I'm sure you've seen so far. I'm not even mad. So, why is he upset with the Sufis? In here, please. I don't want to. I don't want to get it twisted at all. Being a scholar or being a Sufi is not anything that Imam Ghazali had a problem with. It's not something that I have a problem with. What is he actually trying to point out? And what is it that he's actually trying to say is an issue?
Shirk?
No, not shirk. Remember, this is under the door of arrogance. Yeah.
When you think you're better than others.
It's all about arrogance. The problem that he saw with these different groups was the people who were arrogant and how they got position in each of these groups. Does that make sense? So the issue that he had is he was in Madrasa Nizamiya. Madrasa Nizamiya was like in Iran. He was one of the most elite like learning institutions, educational institutions. And then this guy, he's in there. He's learning. Very bright student. He studies with Imam Haramain al-Juwayni, like who himself was like an imam in his own right. And he's just picking up stuff like real lightning, answering questions, dealing with different issues, dealing with different problems. And then he starts noticing something, right? He starts noticing all these clergy walking around. He starts noticing like, okay, they have like a uniform. He starts noticing that everywhere they go, they're followed by their entourage. And he's just like, wait, this isn't what seeking knowledge is about. So what does he do? He leaves. Right? He goes to Damascus. He becomes a janitor. Right? And he starts after that. He kind of rehabilitates. Right? He kind of resets things. He's left off a lot of this dunyawi stuff. He's left off his old life. And then what does he do? He starts engaging in tasawwuf. Right? Like he starts removing himself. He starts starving himself. Right? He starts engaging in more worship and more ibadah. And now he comes in contact with a different group of people. Right? Before he was dealing with the scholars and the clerics. Now who is he dealing with? Now he's dealing with the Sufis. And he entered that group thinking what? He thought, he was like, oh man, this has got to be better, right? These aren't people who are regularly engaged with like knowledge, and knowledge is a thing that was like really made their heads big, and they really thought like, this is what is going to guide them, and this is what's going to make things better, X, Y, Z. And then he starts noticing what? He starts noticing the same thing. He's like, what the heck? I thought you guys did all this and you had figured it out. And not just that, why is it that he would have this expectation from worshippers? Maybe he had less expectations from scholars because he had directly dealt with them. But now why have it from the Sufis? Because he's organizing all these, right? These categories. This is the second category he put. The first category that he was disappointed with were the scholars. And the second category he's disappointed with now are the Sufis. Why?
Maybe they look humble, so you didn't expect.
Okay, for sure, right? They look humble. With the scholars, he was like, oh, y'all should know better, right? Like the expectation is like, man, you guys should know better. You're the ones on the member always talking about this. Like you're always up there talking about arrogance. You're always talking about pride. You're always talking about like cleaning your heart. And you're always talking about like, oh, rizq is from Allah, X, Y, Z. You should know better. And from the Sufis, what happened? Well, his expectation was as high. Why? Yeah.
They claim to know better.
Okay. Well, maybe not claim. I think everybody claims to know better, right? But I think the problem that he had with them is like, okay, those people had a problem because of their knowledge, and maybe they weren't, quote unquote, acting on it, but you were supposed to be what? You were the ones who were supposed to act on this, right? You're the ones to actually claim that your focus is what?
Next life.
Right, you claim next life, Tazkiyah, right? Like you claim of spirituality, like, you have all these, grandiose claims of how you're drawing nearer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how you seclude yourself into these spaces and these places, and all you're doing is dhikr. And what does he see? The same stuff, right? And what are some of the things that he sees? He's like, that same expectation from the Sufi sheikh, like when he walks into a gathering, he walks into a space, what happens? He wants what? He wants the attention. He wants the praise. He wants the special treatment, right? He's like, and the relationship becomes very one way. If you do something for him, he appreciates it, and he will never do anything for you, because he feels his mere existence is barakah. He feels his mere existence is a blessing. The dangerous thing in the world of the Sufis is very different than the clerical world, right? So if you talk about the clerical world and the scholarly world, what happens in those spaces? From our vantage point as maybe community members or as observers, what do we do with those people? You guys heard the term celebrity worship? Like what happens? Like what do we do with such people?
Build them up.
Like we build them up, right? And they become popular and they become celebrities and they become superstars. What happens in Sufi circles? Do we see that as much? Do you guys know like worldwide prominent Sufis? Maybe like individually, right? But I'm saying, but what kind of, because that's the status that happens in scholarly circles. What is the type of status that happens in Sufi circles? Okay. Which leads to what? Not so much. I know the context that you guys are using it in, but there's another term. Over reverence, huh? Okay.
Idolizing.
Okay. Yeah, you're definitely there. It leads to cultism, right? Like you become so infatuated with the sheikh. The sheikh is like, marry this person, or divorce that person, or go to this place, or do this for me, or do that to me. And what kind of response do they get? Yes, sir, right? It's unwavering devotion. And that's what makes it so scary. So, like I said, pick your poison. Well, you don't have to, alhamdulillah. We can avoid it by not being arrogant. But one leads to celebrity worship. The other one leads to cultism. This is the dangers of that. Does this mean that people should not become scholars? No. Does this mean that people should not engage in tasawwuf? No. Right? That's not what that means at all. It means that these are the extremes, and you have to be aware of them, and you have to be wary of them, so that you do not fall into them. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from that. I've observed this a lot. Like I've actually seen this a lot. It happens. Some people will put the blame on the murids, right? The people who join the tariqah. Some people will put it on the sheikh of the tariqah. Right? You're always going to have this blame game. I don't think the system is necessarily wrong. All it is just like a formalized mentorship. Basically, like the sheikh is supposed to be the mentor, and all the people under him is supposed to be mentees. What happens is a lot of abuse ends up happening because there's just too much power consolidated into the hand of one person. And when you don't have checks and balances, this is essentially what happens. And the same thing happens on the clerical side, right? On the scholarly side. When you don't have checks and balances, things go unchecked, right? So what happens is that sometimes you'll have personal misconduct, right? How they treat people. Sometimes you'll have sexual misconduct and how they treat the opposite gender, right? Sometimes you'll have professional misconduct. Sometimes you'll have fiscal misconduct, right? Like you'll have all of these things because at the end of the day, even in our Muslim circles, who holds the mashayikh accountable? Who? No one really. So imagine having a group of people who are basically put into a space where they have to check themselves. It's hard, right? Not just hard, it's almost impossibly hard. That you're entering a space where the only other person to check you is yourself. And most people in that situation are going to what?
They can't do it.
They can't do it. They're going to fail. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ was so insistent on like one of the first people to enter the hellfire will be the who? Will be the scholar. Yeah. Basically, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying like, okay, hey, listen, you want to go down that route? Whoever goes down this route, Allah will make the path of paradise easy for him. All of creation is going to make tawbah for him and istighfar for him. Even the fish in the deepest parts of the sea, the angels will descend on this person. Blessing after blessing after blessing. Yes? But you mess up your intention. Is it Ultima? I don't see the demographic. But anyway. We had spoken about this last time also. If a person says that people are ruined, it says that he is most ruined of all. What does that mean? Why is that? Why, like, if a person is like, oh man, the people are done, the people are ruined, the community is a mess.
Because he's part of the people.
He's part of the people. Like, are you not a people? You know what I mean? Like, are you not from them? In the moment that a person says that, what has he done? Like, he or she has removed themselves and they've distanced themselves. And remember, one of the first stages of arrogance is creating ranks, right? The moment I start looking down on people, the moment I start putting myself in a different space, in a different place, I have now entered the realm of arrogance. Yes?
Is there ranks between Muslims and non-Muslims among some schools of thought?
In terms of what?
Anything. Like, sure. I guess it's some type of, hierarchy here on this earth.
Like Muslims,
Muslims and
Christians,
yeah,
and then like hypocrites, like atheists, then Hindus and Jews, like that?
So yeah, something like that. Maybe not necessarily in that order.
I'm just giving an example. I'm just throwing out an example, like no specific order.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that there are certain types of sins and disbelief that are more hated to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That I can definitely agree with. Now, can I put a person in that particular category to know where he stands with Allah? That I don't know. Because at the end of the day, it's like there are people who actively fought and hurt the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? There are people who stood with him and next to him and prayed with him and they tried to undermine him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? So I think there are definitely levels when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have a ranking system? Yeah, 100%. Do I know what that is? No. Because at the end, can we close that door?
It shouldn't matter to me.
Huh?
It shouldn't matter to me.
Because the question the question I guess I have is, between a Muslim and a non-Muslim, how do I treat them differently?
You might use different greetings and,
Why?
Yes, I know.
It's even more than that.
You're supposed to.
It's not better. Muslim has rights. That's it. A Muslim has rights on me that a non-Muslim doesn't. But if I see a non-Muslim on the side of the road who needs help changing their tire, what should I do? I should help, right? Like I'm saying, when it comes, other than these like 6 rights, like if they sneeze, I respond. If I respond to their salam. Like if I attend their janazah, right? They invite me to their home. I accept the invitation. X, Y, Z, right? Like if they give me a gift, I accept the gift. You have all of these things, right? These are all rights. With the Muslim, I don't have a choice. With the non-Muslim, I do. Meaning that if they greet me, I have a choice to respond, but it's not his or her right. Out of kindness, what should I do? I should respond, right? There's nothing wrong if a non-Muslim sneezes and I say bless you. Is that a problem? No, it's not. If anything, when we say that, how is the perception?
Positive.
It's positive. And if I'm doing it sincerely, what happens in my heart? Right, I feel good about it, right? Like I think it's important for us to kind of contextualize. Like it's not I think the problem that I have sometimes when it comes to like Muslim, non-Muslim like conversations, it's very much a us versus them. Very much. Now, can it be some of us versus some of them? Yeah, 100%. Can it be me versus this person sometimes? Yeah, 100%. Right? Like I think that's very real. But at the end of the day, it should never always be this abstract battle mode. And this is where I have issue. Okay, who am I fighting? Like who's my enemy? Like when I go to Target, like who, you know what I mean? Right? Like, or if I'm at the mall, like, okay, you know, which one? No, that's like, it's very, and not just that, like it keeps a person in tension, right? It keeps them anxious, and that's not a healthy way to live. It's actually not a Muslim way to live. The Prophet ﷺ said very clearly, he said there will be a group of people who enter paradise whose hearts are as light as birds, meaning that they don't carry anxiety, right? There's no anxiety, there's no ill will, there's no malice, there's no jealousy, like they don't have any of these things. If they see somebody like who's hurt, what do they feel? Like they feel empathy. It's like, you know, I'm sorry you lost someone, right? Even if somebody dies, and that person might have been the worst person in the world. It's like, I'm sorry you lost your father. It hurts, and there's nothing wrong with showing empathy in those situations. But like I said, the main difference between a Muslim and a non-Muslim, like this one has rights, this one doesn't. That's it. And like I said, are there ranks in Allah's eyes? Yeah, 100%. Are there ranks between us? Yeah, yes or no? Yeah. 100%. There are ranks between us. Okay, we don't know where we are.
If someone makes an assumption, though, based on the sins that they commit, you know, are they allowed to have some type of sense of superiority over those people?
That's arrogance. Because at the end of the day, you guys know the hadith of the prostitute? Where she went down into the well and she gave the dog water. What happened to her? She got into paradise. Do I know which one of my deeds Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided to descend His forgiveness upon? Or His mercy? What if you're like the biggest degenerate in the world? Biggest degenerate in the world. You built like 100 masajid. What if Allah just accepts one? I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not justifying degenerate behavior, by the way, because maybe Allah will reject all of it. You don't know. Because the moment I'm like, oh, this person is like this, do I have any evidence to back that up? I don't know where people stand in Allah's eyes. And it's so important that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has keeping that knowledge hidden. It's so important that He's keeping that knowledge hidden. Because then it forces me to deal with people the same. Right? I'm forced to. Because I haven't, like, I could be dealing with someone and this person is a wali. I have no idea. Right? I just don't know. I could be dealing with this person and he looks like a wali, but he's a complete degenerate. Like, we just don't know. Like, we're forced to deal with people on equal terms. Like, we have to. Like, that's what we're actually obligated to do. Because the moment we break that dealing in equality, what happens? Like, we fall into arrogance. And may Allah protect us.
Even if they're not Muslim, they can become Muslim next year
100%.
One day before they
No,
die.
no, listen, there might be someone, like, you're just you're walking around, and you're like, okay, this person, like, evil, this, that, XYZ, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, hey, man, you remember our friend so-and-so, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, man, he took a shahada, like, right before he died. You just don't know. Like, we really have no idea. So, I mean, and there's some people, it's like, oh, you know, they've been practicing their whole life, man. SubhanAllah. Like, I had a cousin who was visiting us, and he'd stayed with us when I was younger. Like, it was, and he always used to remind me to pray. And I'll be like, bro, stop, like, you know, leave me alone. Like, he was the one reminding me. He was telling me, like, yo, like, you know, you need to pray and you need to do this, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, thank you. Like, yeah. And I just completely ignored him. I think, I want to say about like 5 years later, I get a phone call from him. And he goes to me, he's like, hey, you know, mashallah, I heard you started praying and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, alhamdulillah, you know, it's good to hear you. Hope everything is well. He's like, yeah, unfortunately, I stopped. And he's like, yeah, you know, I'm living with my girlfriend right now and this and that. And I'm just like, bro, like, what the heck? We just don't know. Like, we just don't know what happens, like, when our hearts are going to flip. Like, we just keep trying to do the best that we can in hopes that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends His mercy upon us. Because at the end of the day, we just don't know. I'm sorry?
How do you prevent that?
Doing the best you can. Keep doing good. Keep being around good people. Make sure that you have good company. Connecting yourself to someone who can help you answer your questions. Right? These things are really important. The moment I have a doubt, like I'm saying, even myself, the moment I have a doubt, the moment I have a question, I'm part of like, I want to say like 7 different groups. And I'm like, hey, listen, guy, like, what do you think about this? Or what about this issue? Has anybody dealt with this? I'm like, this is someone who's spent a good portion of their life studying Islam academically. I still have questions.
So in these groups, are these usually people who are like a bit more knowledgeable, or is it like
So you have,
more necessarily scholars?
I think at the least it's somebody who is actively studying Islam academically, right? So I would say like that's the least, if not somebody who's been studying longer than I have, or people who've been studying for less time than I have, but who are like more rigorous in their research, who spent more time, who are more focused, right? Like, so you have all kinds of people, but it's important to have that peer group. And one of the easiest ways to prevent this, right, the things that we're talking about, whether you're in a scholarly group or whether you're in a worshiper group, is by being around people who are at the same or higher level. Because what happens with a lot of these people is they start surrounding themselves with who? People who are at the lower level than them. So how are these people going to criticize? They don't know, right? They think you're the one to look up to. Are there certain engagements that a mentor can have with mentees in terms of like, okay, hey, how do you feel I did this or that? Yeah, 100%, right? Like, I think there's always going to be room for critique. But at the end of the day, if I'm not actually engaging with people who are more knowledgeable than me, there's no way for me to grow. Online, there was a recent back and forth. Like, 2 people I know, I'm very close to them. One I feel is very much more knowledgeable than this other young man. And this young man, he put out a refutation. Right? He's like, oh, the sheikh said this and this is why he's wrong, X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. So I messaged the sheikh immediately. I was like, hey, listen, this young beau, he's coming at your neck. I was like, ignore him. And he's like, yeah, I was gonna respond or whatever. And I was like, no, don't waste your time. And he comes back to me. He's like, yeah, he kind of, undermined himself like in the argument that he was presenting. And I said to him, I was like, listen, he doesn't have any teachers. I said, the only people around him are his students. And what is the easiest way for me to make a name for myself? Try to take down people who I see to be more popular, people who I see above me. Because we said there's only 2 ways, right, to like kind of gain reputation. Either through hard work, through effort, through diligence, or by character assassination, right, and trying to bring other people down. That way is quicker, right? It's much quicker, to do that. Because the other way, it requires time, it requires effort, it requires like engagement and things like that. So it definitely can be challenging. But at the end of the day, man, like if we don't surround ourselves with good people, if we don't surround ourselves with people who are going to critique us, and one of the reasons that I say it's important to connect ourselves with like scholars or people who we can get our questions answered from, there's no room for us to grow. Well, why don't we Why don't we surround ourselves with people who are going to critique us? It's uncomfortable. It's like super uncomfortable. But one thing that I think is really, really important, and I think sometimes this is difficult for us to hear, is that it's important for every single one of us to embrace trauma. Like, we have to.
Embrace what?
Trauma. Don't seek it, right? Like, I don't want anyone out there to go and like seek it and be like, it's like, Mom and Dad, I need you to be more abusive. No, like, this is not something that we should be seeking. But when we face it, well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He put us in that situation. And it's important for us to embrace it, because it is only through trauma that we can grow. It's not going to be through ease. It's not going to be through having, like, silver spoons in our mouths. It's not going to be because the path was made easy for us. No. It's only going to be challenges. It's only going to be through difficulty. It's only going to be through actual critique, meaningful critique that we receive. And even the critique that isn't meaningful, even if somebody says something to us that we're like, that's completely untrue, don't be shy to explore. Right? Even if you know it's 100% untrue. Be like, okay, do I even have like a small portion of that? Why? Because the idea is to lower ourselves. Right? That's the whole goal. The idea is to lower ourselves, to make ourselves more humble, to deflate our egos. Because it doesn't take much to inflate them. So over here, this is a nice hadith too, right? Is enough evil for a person to belittle his Muslim brother? There's a hadith that's sahih on this, where the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Sibab al-Muslim fisq wa qitaluhu kufr. He said that cursing your Muslim brother is fisq, it is a major sin, and fighting him is disbelief. Yeah. Yes. Like physically. No. No. It's not a solution. There's a difference between, people do a lot of things. Do Muslims steal? Do they lie? Okay. They're going to fight too. What do you mean? Is it kufr? The Prophet said it's kufr. Meaning that you should do your best to what? To avoid it. Like, don't. Why are you, what good can come from a physical altercation? Nothing. You listen, we can talk about sports combat, right? That's a very different arena, right? So if you're talking about like boxing, or you're talking about MMA, you're talking, right? Like if you're talking about sports combat, that's very different than people fighting out of anger. Because what is the best that can happen from two people physically fighting with each other? The best, huh? Somebody gets hurt. And what's the most that can happen? Someone can die. And what did you benefit?
Extrapolating on that, then, even those sports.
Yeah. Money?
What's
Right?
allowed? I mean,
Yeah.
from a Muslim perspective,
So I think
what good can come out of those types of sports?
there are certain things that are competitive, and you might ask that for any sport, right?
I'm talking about the combative ones.
No, I'm saying I'm willing to work into the combative sports, no problem. But I'm saying even in regular sports, if you're talking about football, you're talking about soccer, you're talking about basketball, are these physical sports? Yes. And do people regularly get hurt in these sports?
Yes.
Yes, they do. Like, if I used getting hurt as a criteria, there's very few things that we can do. And I'm gonna get to the fighting. Don't worry. So if we understand that there is a tolerance for getting hurt for doing things that are competitive, even the Prophet ﷺ, we'll say it's a statement of Umar radiallahu anh. He said, "Allimu awladikum." He said, teach your children three things. What? Swimming, horseback riding, and archery. All of these are competitive. Do people fall off horses and break their necks? All the time, right? Unfortunately, it's very common. Meaning that there's a understanding that we are allowed to have competitive sports in Islam, even if there is a threat of getting hurt. Okay, now the question comes into fighting. Is physical fighting okay? There are a few hadith that many scholars will use. They say, لا تضربوا الوجه فإن الله خلق آدم على صورته. where the Prophet ﷺ, he said, don't strike the face because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that created it like that. Meaning don't disfigure your face. The muhaddithin, how did they use this hadith? They have all of these hadith in like Kitab al-Itq, Kitab al-Awlad, Kitab al-Nisa. None of them have it in Kitab al-Jihad. Meaning what? That if you are, what's the word I'm looking for? شو التأديب يعني بالإنجليزي? No, punishing, right? So if you're going to punish your child, or you're going to punish your slave, don't punish them by what? By hitting them in the face. طيب, what if I have two professionals who are consensually fighting in a space for sport? I can say it's disliked, right? Because does it cause disfigurement? Does it cause mental damage? Does it cause all that? Yes, 100%, it does those things. But like I said, for me, the most I can say that it's disliked. Versus why? Because all of the chances and all the things you're talking about of getting hurt are significantly higher than they are in other sports. Yeah. Maybe I gave that ruling because I like it too. I don't know.
Intentionally hurting another person is not
Sure.
right.
Sure.
I see it as different people.
Go back. This one. Inshallah, we'll continue the conversation next week, inshallah. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu ala khayri khalqi nabina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi. No. Yeah. The problem is the salah time. I think from next week, inshallah, we'll come back and continue.